Hello everyone. Welcome back to the War Diary channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. Imagine this. A ticking clock over Kyiv, an ultimatum delivered to Moscow with an impossible deadline, 48 hours to comply or face the consequences. That bold message from Ukraine may mark a turning point in a war that has so far seen grim tit-for-tat exchanges, creeping advances, and stunning resistance. This is Kyiv's 48-hour ultimatum. And today we explore how dangerous it is for Russia, how real its threats are, and whether it could reshape the course of this conflict. From the outside, this ultimatum is theatrical, a theatrical gambit of strategic signaling intended to shake the Kremlin's resolve and mobilize global attention. The exterior view is that Ukraine is daring Putin: comply, pull back, or pay the price. It's a public message, broadcast to the world, intended not just for Russian generals, but for international capitals, media audiences, and Russia's domestic audience. It is a psychological strike as much as a military posture. Russia faces humiliation or escalation, no middle ground. The thickness of that public show of defiance is its strength, because Russia will have to respond, and any hesitation or backdown will be read globally as weakness. But if we imagine peering inside, beneath the rhetoric, we see a far leaner, more delicate interior. Ukraine's message isn't backed by unlimited force, it depends on Western weapons, intelligence sharing, and internal cohesion. The logistical strain is immense. The margin for miscalculation is slim. Supplies, ammunition, command coordination, drone support, those are the guts behind the ultimatum. In other words, the interior is vulnerable, complex, and under pressure. On performance, how credible is this ultimatum, and how effectively can Ukraine execute it? We must judge by the strength of its alliances and its military readiness. Ukraine has proven resilient. It has defied earlier expectations, holding cities, pushing back assaults, inflicting attrition. Russia has struggled with supply lines, command coherence, and morale. The performance question is whether Ukraine can turn this ultimatum from words into actions. Can it strike targets deep in Russian-held territory? Can it carry out cyber or missile operations that force Russia's hand? Can it marshal international backing fast enough so that the threat isn't empty? If the clock starts and nothing material happens, the whole message will collapse. Safety features, in this context, are less about armor or airbags and more about the safeguards and contingencies built into Ukraine's posture. It needs fail-safes. Fallback plans if diplomacy overtakes violence, safe channels to de-escalate, buffer zones to avoid overreaching. It needs to ensure civilian infrastructure isn't catastrophically hit, avoiding overreaction that could provoke widespread retaliation. Ukraine must preserve plausible deniability, protect its supply networks, avoid escalation with nuclear rhetoric, and keep international support intact. These are the safety nets behind the bold gesture. If the escalation spirals, Ukraine itself could become vulnerable. What are the unique selling points of this ultimatum? What makes it different and dangerous? First, bold timing. 48 hours is dramatic, aggressive. It leaves zero ambiguity. Second, visibility. It's public, not secret. Russia cannot dismiss it quietly. Third, psychological warfare. By forcing a deadline, Kyiv is imposing a crisis moment, a decision moment, forcing Moscow's hand. Fourth, leverage of alliances. The threat comes with implicit promises of Western response, sanctions, escalation in aid. Fifth, narrative control. Ukraine frames itself as the bold defender and the victim, forcing Russia onto the back foot in optics. Sixth, flexibility. Ukraine can calibrate whether it escalates or backs down partly depending on Russian response. The ultimatum gives theater without necessarily locking it into catastrophic war. How about the cost? The price of issuing such an ultimatum, and the risks. If the deadline passes and nothing happens, credibility is lost. If Russia ignores or counters with escalation, Ukraine may be drawn into a confrontation it might not fully control. Civilian areas could suffer, supply lines disrupted, retaliation poured down. If a miscalculation leads to broader escalation, say Russia responds with strategic bombing, or nuclear saber rattling, or opens a new front, Ukraine could suffer catastrophic losses. And there is diplomatic risk. If allies perceive the ultimatum as reckless, they may hesitate to support. The price in prestige, safety, and lives is high. Looking ahead, what conclusion can we draw? This 48-hour ultimatum is not just another message. It is perhaps the most dangerous message yet, because it forces a moment of truth. It asks, will Russia bow, escalate, or bluff? If Russia backs down partially, Ukraine claims a victory. If Russia escalates but Ukraine holds firm and the world backs Kyiv, the strategic balance might tilt. But if Russia ignores it and no action follows, Ukraine loses face. The ultimatum's power lies in its gamble. It dares Moscow to call the bluff. In that sense, it is an audacious escalation in the war of narratives, diplomacy, and military confrontation. So in closing, Kyiv's 48-hour ultimatum is a high-wire act. On the exterior, it is bold, defiant, and carefully broadcast. On the interior, it is complex, frail, dependent on support, and full of hidden pressures. Its performance will be tested in the coming hours, whether Ukraine can back its words with action. Its safety features are strategic buffers and fallback options that must be preserved. Its unique strengths lie in its psychological force, narrative dominance, and diplomatic leverage. Its price is high. Credibility, lives, risk of backlash. And the conclusion is that this may be the most dangerous and defining message in the war so far, because it forces action, forces choice, and risks everything. Thank you for watching. Stay with the War Diary. Hit subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Russia will act, or will it call the bluff?